Good evening. I would like to talk as a Palestinian because I just arrived 10 days before the war from Palestine, and I have little experience about the grassroots movements, but I'm fascinated by the work that have been carried out over the last 16 months. So it's a great grassroots movement and mobilization. Although I'm fascinated with this, still I have some comments and raising some questions in order to learn and to be able to see further. But since we are talking about freedom of speech and in this country, and from Palestinian perspective, we need to raise some questions about the discourse of the movement. So what kind of discourse of movement that we need to see, especially after 15 months of success mobilizing in the streets. So we have hundreds of thousands of people marching in the streets. So we have this momentum, which is like, it's very, very fascinating things to see this every other week or monthly to have this. So Ben spoke about escalating, but we need to escalate in terms of discourse. So we need to reposition this. I think we need to reposition this movement to be social justice, not only for Palestine, but global social justice issue. Because I'm coming from leftist background, so this discourse would help us to connect between the working class here in UK, around the world, and the Palestinian people. And even when we talk about Palestine, we are talking about groups of social groups, different social groups that have different social interests and political interests. So even in Palestine, you would see that people who would be affiliated with the Palestinian Authority that collaborate with Israeli occupation. And we have other people or other segments who are supporters of the resistance against Israeli occupation. So we need to highlight these differences, and also when we are mobilizing and using specific discourse, we need to highlight this issue, because from a tactic point of view, we need to connect dots and to make this strategy. So we need people who represent this idea about liberation, anti-colonization, anti-imperialism. So if we connect all of these dots, we will have one connected strategy, one discourse that unite us globally. So for us Palestinians, like shutting down the freedom of speech means, like, for me as a Palestinian, freedom to know how much the UK is involved in this war. We already know that UK collect a lot of information. Even during this truce, this ceasefire, we already know that they are flying these surveillance airplanes to collect data from Gaza, all over Gaza. So this is problematic. So they are engaging directly. So we are not talking about only solidarity. There is a kind of responsibility here for the mass movement to hold those people in power accountable for what they have been doing over the last 16 months and more. Actually, the whole Zionist enterprise is were structured by this nation, by this, actually should not use word nation, by this imperial power. So they are already engaged in this issue, and it's not only to raise awareness about this. People should be aware that they are responsible for this, because same issue when we question why the German people were silenced when Hitler was there, the Nazis was there. Now we are also, from Palestinian perspective, we question every nation around the world. And starting from here, we question the people here why they were silenced over the last several years about what UK government, the establishment itself, did for us as Palestinians. So this is a matter of this discourse. So we need to reposition, or using business terms, rebrand the movement. I don't know, people are in charge, they are aware of the complexity of the issues more than me. There are certain contradictions within the movement itself. You need to bring people together based on wider agenda to agree about certain issues. But from me as a Palestinian, I want to make it clear. There are two groups in Palestine: people who resist this occupation and have a strategic point, and we need to highlight this struggle and put it in this context. And we have the people who use the suffering of the Palestinians to just empower themselves. And for me, from my perspective, those are the Palestinian authorities and the people who collaborate with the Palestinian authorities to do this issue. So that's why in the next few weeks, and maybe days actually, you will see that the Palestinian Authority will escalate. So when people here will start question why there are some Palestinians that are involved in this issue, if we do not build awareness about the complexity of the struggle in Palestine, people would be confused. So that's why we need to have different discourse that clarify where we are positioned. So it's a freedom movement more than anti-war movement. This is one of the issues that I would propose, and we need to think about this. This one issue. Also, we need a discourse that engage people with us. And here I'm using the Ferrerian approach, the pedagogy of the oppressed, that when we engage people, we could mobilize them as active people, active agents. They are not just only people who would support and we just count them. So we are not talking about just numbers. We are talking about people who can also produce knowledge, can see and advise. So they are engaging, they are part of active movement. So we are talking about not activism, we are talking about praxis. So people who would think and engage and develop their own initiative. And for example, this is one of the good initiatives because people from the movement find that they could contribute by involving their own communities. So again, just stress again that we need a strategy that's based on different discourse that can, using them, escalate the struggle, using the business term, rebranding the struggles, but this would allow us to continue, and if the war, and hopefully, inshallah, the war will not start again, would allow us to continue our struggle here in this country, saying that we need to end this injustice for the Palestinians, we need to hold this government accountable for taking actions, concrete actions in this war, and by doing this, we can have a strategic path to engage Palestinians and international movement. And thank you.